Hi there. Today I'm going to talk to you about the future tense in Spanish. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to see that the future tense is a little bit easier to conjugate than some of the other verb tenses that we've done in the past. Since you're now to the future tense, I'm assuming that you know present tense and probably past tense, imperfect and preterite. So you know that we have our infinitives AR, ER, and IR on the endings. And like I said, normally in the past, we've dropped those and added a new ending. However, for the future tense regular verbs, and remember, a regular verb means it follows a pattern. For the regular verbs, we are actually going to leave the ending on and add new letters onto the end. Instead of dropping and adding, we are leaving and adding. So you should know your subject pronoun chart here fairly well by now. And so let's take a look. What does this look like? The new endings that we're going to add are a con acento, as con acento, a con acento. Sorry, hemos. I even make that mistake. I'm so used to doing, adding amos. A's con acento en la E and N. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this video over and I'm not going to edit. Sorry. On. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right. So again, we are adding these onto our infinitive. So what do you end up with AR, with hablar, for example? I like that verb just because we've probably done it in about every verb tense. Hablar. Hablarás. Hablará. Hablaremos. Again, remember we're not dropping anything here. Hablaréis. Hablarán. Notice the accent has an emphasis when it's pronounced. That's how we also know when we're speaking that it's the future tense. It's not hablaré, it's not hablare, it's hablaré. Hablarás, hablará. And if you need to overemphasize it to help you learn it and then tone it back a little bit later to make it sound more natural, that's totally fine. So let's take a look here at a PowerPoint I'm going to share with you. And here we go. We just talked about that. And it's the same for the ER and the IR verbs. Again, we don't drop anything. We just add, leave the infinitive ER, IR, and add the new ending. Let's go ahead and practice it. Go ahead and pause the video and see if you can conjugate the verbs in the blanks according to the subject or subject pronouns. And then you can start the video and the next slide will show you the answers. And there are your answers. Okay, so that's the regular verbs. Let's talk about the irregulars. Even the irregulars do follow a pattern. And you'll notice that they're still following the pattern of adding the same endings. A, as, a, hemos, without an accent, es, and an. On all of these, the endings are still the same. However, we have added another letter in front of it, and there are 3 different categories here that I'm going to show you. So if you're taking notes, you're trying to memorize these, it's always good to categorize things, group them together by like things, and these all conjugate the same with an added R. And in fact, querer is a little bit of an exception because we have 2 R's that we're going to add there. I'm sorry, it's not an exception because there is already an R. And we're just adding an R like all the others. I kept thinking that was an exception, and it's not. So they are all the same. We're just adding R and then our endings. So cabre, cabras, cabra, and so on. Let's take a look at another group here. In this case, we're adding a DR, so I would call this the DR group. Saldre, tendre, valdre, vendre. And actually saying these and speaking it will help you to hear an error later. If you're on your test and you're writing it and you put pone, ponas, for example, you're going to be, that doesn't sound right. Oh yeah, that's one of the DRs. I have to add a DR and then the ending in the future tense. So just simply going through these and saying them, just like I did, pondré, pondrás, pondrá, just a couple of times will immensely help you to memorize that those are irregular and to not write them as though they were the regular verbs. So don't forget that's a DR added there, and the other one was the added R in the other category. And then our last group is just some irregulars. obviously we don't keep the C there and add anything. We drop the C, we add an R on both of desir and hacer. And satisfacer. The C is dropped in all of these. Okay. We add an R, and then our ending is still the same. A, as, a. Okay, so I guess I would call this drop the C, add the R group. So you have 3 different groups of irregulars. Again, it's much easier to memorize those if we group them together by likeness. And that is it for future tense. Oh, and I forgot there's a practice page here for you. Go ahead and pause the video, fill that in if you want, take little notes, and then look at the answers. Okay, thanks. Hope this helps.